Hey everybody, Arwen Kathke here from the Cardboard Time podcast. I know that y'all are used to listening to me, but now you actually get to see me, and I'm going to do a recap of our experience at Origins Game Fair in Columbus, Ohio, this year in 2024. Very fun convention with a lot of friends, a lot of good games, and some unfortunate doggo experiences that we'll talk about in a minute. Everything's fine. It's okay now, but there were some harrowing moments. So let's get into it. And let's start off with Wednesday when we did drop Charlie off. This is always the hardest part of a vacation for me, other than packing, is having to drop Charlie off at a friend's house or get him situated in a situation that he's not used to. We did drop him off, and then we went down to Origins, and the drive down to Columbus was relatively uneventful. It was super, super hot down there. It was a blisteringly hot weekend, and I'm just fortunate that most of our venues had good working AC that was actually on, other than Thursday, but that's to be expected at a convention. Opening days are usually ridiculously hot. Once we checked into the hotel, we did go to the convention center. The badge process this year was absolutely wonderful. No complaints. The badge process last year, supposedly some people had some issues with it, but I have found getting badges at Origins one of the quickest experiences out of any convention. So kudos to the staff for making that such a smooth experience for us. Also, we got to meet up with our friends Jennifer and Scott, and they made bagels for us, and they were just transporting these bagels around, hoping that they were going to run into us down there on Wednesday. And we're so glad that we found them because these bagels were amazing and saved our butts for breakfast quite a few times, and they were so tasty. So after we got everything taken care of and checked in, we got our bagels. We got to see Nathan Thornton and chat with him for a while. We did go to Chris High's party, which was fantastic. He held that over at Jackie O's and got to play quite a few fun games, including Fuji Flush, which I had never played before, but I had always seen, every once in a while on a sale rack, and this is one that I might pick up. Very fun little card game. I also got a chance to try Fuego again. This was a game by the Dirtle Games folks that's being picked up by Keymaster. I did play it in a previous iteration when it was called Match, and this is such a good theme for it and a really cool, clever trick-taking game. This is going to be one to watch out for, and the box design is absolutely stunning. In addition to that, Andrew Stiles came over, and we did get to try out his game Wine Cellar. This was on Kickstarter a little while back from 25th Century Games, and we had such a great time with this. A lot of fun auction mechanics that are going on, as well as set collection, packaged together in a way that is really pleasing and makes for a fun experience. Again, in a small package. So once we were done with that, that was pretty much it for the rest of the night. We were tired. It was kind of a long day having to drop Charlie off and making our way down to Columbus. And we just wanted to get some rest for the events to come. On Thursday, we got up early, or at least I did anyways, to go into the exhibit hall. One of the perks that we have as media is that we get to go in a little bit early at most conventions anyways, for an hour just to peruse, do interviews if we need a empty hall floor. Or just to get those, really key hot items. They do usually set a few aside for us that we're able to pick up. So I'm very grateful for that. Did get to pick up Thunder Road Vendetta, the deluxe edition, and Agueda. Some games that I had really been looking forward to. And I'll talk about Agueda in a minute. But some games on Thursday that really piqued my interest. One was SETI. This was by CGE, and one that I'm really interested in. It is a heavier game about emerging space technologies and contacting extraterrestrial life. I think it's really cool that we don't always have to blow up creatures from other planets and, try to get along with them every once in a while. Who would have thought that that's a viable strategy? In addition to that, Ultimatch is a game that I did pick up. Small box card game, very akin to Pyramid Solitaire, with some teamwork and some cooperativeness that really hit with us. We did get to play that later in the convention, and it was a great time. Agueda is a game about a real-life art installation in Portugal. This I picked up for its color vision accessibility. At least I thought it was going to be color vision accessible. I did have some issues with the player colors. But fortunately, that doesn't play too much into the core gameplay mechanics of the game, and there are very minor things that you as a player can do just to kind of overcome that. But the pieces that you're playing out on your board, those are very, very much color vision friendly as well. So that was nice, and really why I picked this game up. I also got to see Pirates of the High Teas. This is a fantastic little worker placement game with a unique theme around serving your captain afternoon tea. It kind of flips the pirate genre on its head a little bit, and very satisfying. This is one that I am very much looking forward to. And speaking of these smaller independent studios, a couple other games I got to check out were BubbleNet by Kat Dreyer. That one just finished up funding. I had planned on making this video a little bit sooner so I could get that in, but congratulations to Kat and Dreyer Inc. on making that come to fruition. It looks like a very fun multiplayer solitaire type game. And Chicken Fried Dice is a game that is coming to crowdfunding very soon. And this is described as a dice chucking and plucking roll and write. Looks like it could be very interesting. I didn't get a chance to fully try it out, but I did get a little demo of it. Looks like it could be fun. Some other games I did get to play during the day were the Blueprints of Mad King Ludwig. I love the tracing mechanism in this game. I think it's something that's very well done, where you're tracing your rooms out on this piece of paper, and you have these cards that you're using to show you what to trace. Unfortunately, I did run into some color vision issues with this as well. There might be a couple of things that you can do as a player to maybe use symbols and fill things in. But it was very difficult to see doors and where they were placed, especially on the yellow rooms that you were placing. So unfortunately, that one didn't come home with me. In addition to that, I got to play Pirates of Maracaibo. This is the new in the series of the Maracaibo games. Kind of a race game. Not necessarily a fan of the theme, but the gameplay was a lot of fun. Each choice was very important on when to go slow and when to speed up on your exploration, when you had to race other players and try to get to the finish. So very interesting, probably one that I will take a further look at, because I did have quite a bit of fun with Pirates of Maracaibo. And then finally, Super Kawaii Pets was a really cute card game. I loved being able to turn the sad pets over to happy pets once you fulfilled what they were looking for. And it was also a very fun and satisfying chaining mechanism that went with that. A couple of former Magic the Gathering players, I believe, were the designers of this, and really had fun with this game, more than I was expecting to, and I was hoping to have a lot of fun with this. Friday morning, I woke up early again. I had a panel to get to, Scott's panel on how to punish your players with terrain. This was a fantastic panel on D&D involving terrain and what different rules are and what different considerations you might have in using terrain to make difficult obstacles for your players to overcome. I thought it was a really well done panel. There were considerations that I had never thought of in running a game. Not that I get to do that a whole lot, but it was very interesting, even from just an audience perspective. And as someone who has played D&D multiple times before, seeing the work that goes into that was really fascinating for me. I also got to see speed puzzling. This was something that I was kind of introduced to last year at Origins. They had a big thing with Ravensburger. And this continued, although with a different company. They were doing more of like the wooden puzzles, which are kind of making a comeback at this point. And speed puzzling is basically taking a puzzle that you don't know what it is and just putting it together as fast as you possibly can. Kind of fascinating. It was fun to watch. I didn't get to stay for very long because I did have quite a few meetings that day. I did also swing through Unpub, and this is something that I highly recommend anybody that is going to go to a convention do, is take a look at Unpub, take a look at the games that are coming out, because you never know when you're going to play the next game that's going to be a huge hit, or something that is going to hit with you on your shelves. You get to play it before it even comes out and provide that feedback to the designers that they so very much need. And playtesting and helping them out with those designs is really critical. And you also never know who you're going to run into. This really is the lifeblood of game development, and you see like tons of very familiar faces in Unpub. We saw Nathan Thornton, we saw Elizabeth Hargrave in there, going and testing games and having their own as well. A couple of meetings that we had, I did get to meet with Arcane Wonders, and one of the games that I am most excited for is Metzen. This is a abstract pattern builder with wonderful Russian art style, where you're flipping tiles over towards the beginning of the game, and then you're going to try to flip those back to make patterns at the end of the game, and you're going to score points based on those patterns. Looks really interesting. This one's going to be available at Gen Con, and I'm looking forward to hopefully picking up a copy of that. In addition, I got to meet up with Ray. I was just getting coffee and wound up randomly seeing her, which was awesome. And I got to try out Gnome Hollow. We set up a appointment later on in the day, and Gnome Hollow is a really fantastic game. Hints of Carcassonne in there. You've got a fluctuating market in there as well. And these amazing magnetic player boards that just keep the components tidy and neat. And I thought was a really cool idea. The backstory of how this came to be was also fascinating and something that you probably want to look up. Probably my favorite game of the show was Layers by KTBG. And the best way that I can describe this is basically a D&D version of Battleship. So you're going through and you're exploring your opponent's layer that they create, and you're going to create a layer for them to explore as well. And it really does, kind of bring up those hints of Battleship or those old dungeon crawl, old computer games that you make your own maps and you draw out your own maps of exactly what's going on. I was transported back to those old days of, dungeon crawling on my computer as well. It was just really fun. A lot of expandability. We only got to play the base game, which is the core bare surface of what this game is going to bring. There's going to be locked doors and things like that I am very excited to explore and see. And Allie also had a great time when she played this with me too. After the festivities there ended, we did get to play some awesome games, including Captain Sonar, which was kind of a throwback. I did get rid of this game just because I didn't really like all the yelling and that, but I was willing to entertain a play of it. In addition, some footage that I didn't get was of Luffy's Bento Panic. This is probably one of my favorite party games of the year. This was a fantastic game that is going to give you a little bit more of a full game experience as opposed to what you would normally expect in a party game. So I had fun with that too. And then after that, of course, we had to get some Mikey's Late Night Slice. It's become a Origins historical staple for me anytime that I go. And it was a great time. It was ridiculously hot. We were sweating like crazy. And we got to meet up with Josh Schwartz as well of Chip Theory Games and catch up with him for a while, which was always a great time. Not a great time getting a soda that didn't have any ice because it was just so incredibly ridiculously hot in there, but the slices were worth it. Always so good. So on Saturday, we had already planned on leaving. We did get notice that Charlie was definitely feeling under the weather. Not so great health effects with us being gone. And come to find out, like, a lot of the bad stuff that was happening was just because he was homesick. We just packed up the car. I had some stuff to sell off at the math trade, and unfortunately, I didn't get footage of that, but if you've never been to a math trade or an auction meetup, it is something to behold. It is quite the sight. Everybody trying to find each other. I will give kudos to the organizers this year. They did such a fantastic job of making people easy to find, having a place that you could put phone numbers, and just making it very, very convenient for people to make their trades and get out. I do highly encourage people to check out those flea markets. If you are in the market for a game, a lot of times you can find things that you were looking for last year that were going to cost you $60 are now $10, $20, $30. Usually you can get games for half to up to 90% off in some cases. I had a couple of more meetings to attend to before I did depart. I did get to meet with All Play and get to look at their upcoming releases. The one that really stuck out with me the most was a game called Lure, and this was a game about fishing, and you had to basically place bets with the amount of dice that you wanted to roll, and the player who basically bet the least amount was the one that rolled first and got the opportunity to catch fish first, which I thought was kind of neat. I did get to play a game of this on Board Game Arena, and I thought it was pretty interesting. This is one that I might play at a convention again in person. I think it would add a little bit of something, but glad I got the opportunity to check it out while it was on Board Game Arena. I'm loving small box games more and more. I love the different offerings that some of these companies have as far as small box games go. So interested to see more of what All Play has. So I did get to meet up with our friend Court at Thames and Cosmos, and I always love seeing Court. We have such great discussions, and it's always so much fun seeing her. And the thing that Thames and Cosmos has that I am most excited to see is a game called Nunatak, or however you're going to pronounce it. We're still kind of debating on that. But this is a amazing set collection and area control game with some very unique 3D elements to it. You're building up kind of like this ice castle. And I am so looking forward to this. It has such great table presence, and it looks like it has a really solid game behind it with different kind of area control mechanics, and the set collection is kind of different, almost like a Nita Vetlier kind of vibe to it. Really fascinating. Also by King Klenko, who is a designer that I really enjoy as well. Charlie was very excited to see us when we got home. We did head home right after that meeting. We packed everything up, said goodbyes, and then we were on our way. And we had to come home early. He was being anxious, a lot of kind of health problems that I won't talk about on here, but he definitely did appreciate us being there, and we appreciated being back home too because we were very sleepy and very tired, and we were just glad to cuddle with Charlie. So that was our time. Normally we stay until Sunday, but we decided this year to just make it a Wednesday through Saturday, and that was plenty for us. Yes, we would have loved the time on Saturday night with our friends, but unfortunately, that just wasn't in the cards. So overall, it was fantastic seeing my friends, and this is one of the things that I really like about Origins is I get to see a lot of my local friends who go down there and my industry friends as well. And you get to see a lot of the upcoming games that are going to be at Gen Con and get a little sneak preview and hands on as well, especially if you don't go to like a Gamma or a Dice Tower. You do get to see that preview, which is very, very nice and very, very helpful as somebody that does board game media. I wish we had been able to find out about the first look a little bit sooner. That was something that, because I was going to Chris's event, I had to miss because the timing conflicted. We found out about 4 days in advance before we actually knew that first look A was happening and B was at the scheduled time. And this actually was interesting because Chris had changed the time of his event from what it was to the later time because he didn't want to conflict with First Look like he did last year, and they wound up shifting the time anyway. So that was a little bit unfortunate. I do really wish there had been more of a heads up and a notification on that. It did feel like attendance was up slightly this year, and I do think that the numbers reflect that. What I'm not necessarily sure of is some of the more large publishers weren't necessarily there and present this time, which is something that there's been a lot of discussion about. It did leave a lot of space for some of the smaller publishers to come in. But I think it's a matter of what that value proposition is going to be for publishers to come in and have a booth. Again, with everything so close to Gen Con, making sure that that value is there and making sure that publishers are feeling that value of the booth that they're getting. I know that they had talked about potentially bringing some larger publishers back for next year. We'll see if that actually materializes, and we'll see if some of the smaller publishers that we did get to see this year actually do return. I think that's going to be one of my main interest points, is to see if that actually does happen, or we start to see more of an attrition that can't be filled. So I'm hoping for the best. Again, Origins is my home convention. It was the first board game convention that I had ever been to. It was where the genesis for the podcast idea actually came from. And I want to see it do well. I want to have a thriving convention in my backyard or something that I can get to relatively easy. And have a place for my friends to congregate, especially the ones I've made in the industry that are out of town. Bringing them into town is always such a great thing, and I always love seeing them. So I want the convention to thrive. So next up for us is Gen Con. I will be doing a preview video of the games that I'm excited to see. Thank y'all for watching. I will have shirts available soon. The Cardboard Time podcast shirts will be available shortly, so watch out for those. I will have the usual podcasts up every 2 weeks or so, depending on Gen Con scheduling. That might change, fluctuate, all that good stuff. But thank you for being on this journey. Please provide me some feedback, and we'll see y'all at Gen Con.